Hello, friends and listeners. In today's episode, we are proud to present our guest, Mrs. Sandy Paul. Prior to becoming a school district administrator from 1993 to 1996, she was a technology teacher at St. Peter and Paul High School in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands, and also taught introductory technology courses for the business department at the University of Virgin Islands. In 1996, she taught at Bailey Allard Catholic High School in New Jersey as the technology teacher and technology coordinator for the school. She also taught education technology at Fairleigh Dickinson University for pre-service teachers until 1998. Over the past 22 years, she has presented at numerous education technology conferences on varied topics, including BYOD in your school district, Web 2.0 policies, social media, being a connected educator, using Google as an administrator, and so on. She actively participates in several online social media chats such as EdTech Chat, BYOT Chat, SAT Chat, and NG Ed, etc. Presently, she is on the NGAET Executive Board as the EdTech Advocacy Chairperson and is a member of ISTE and COSN, for which she recently participated in the Emerging Technology Committee. Mrs. Paul is a founding and organizational member of EdCamp NG and is the NGAET Fall Conference presenter organizer. Mrs. Paul, welcome.
Hi,
We
thank you.
are very excited to have you on our show. Let's talk computer science. Truly honored to talk to you.
Well, I'm humbled that you guys thought of me and wanted to do this. So, yes, I'm excited about doing this with you guys too, also.
So, why did you choose to become an educator, teacher, or professor?
One of the things that happened to me, it was actually, I don't know if you want to say it was by accident or it was, you know, it was fate. I don't know which one you want to look at it, but it was definitely a great thing. I landed up in the Virgin Islands. I was taking some computer science courses, so I was taking some programming languages, and while I was there, the education department had to change over from a Mac format to a Windows format. And one of my professors, while I was working in the lab, said to me, he's like, "Why don't you go over to the education department and help out one of the professors over there in how to navigate between the two formats?" And I said, "Okay, fine." So it landed up being the actually department chair for the education department. And as I was slowly navigating and showing her how to move from one format to another, she says, "You are a great teacher. Why don't you take a course and audit a course?" So I said, "Okay, fine." So I took a course, and next thing I know, here I am teaching. So yeah, and I taught for 5 years. I taught in the Virgin Islands and in New Jersey for 5 years, and then I became a school administrator. So yeah, but yeah, that's how I got into education. I've never left. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah, I wish there are more of you. I mean, especially me also having like the first half year background, like I was so narrow-sighted, I feel, when I was in college.
Yeah.
Like I thought coding is the most amazing thing in the world. How can people do anything else? Yeah. Yeah. So, can you please tell us more about your current role and how you got to your current role?
Okay, so I'm a director of information technology and operations for a school district in New Jersey, and I've been a director basically about 22 years, 23 years now. And one of the things that happened is when I was at Bailey Ellard, I actually They used to have standalone computers, and being that I was a technology teacher, I wanted to move forward with the technology inside. So I set up my own actual network. So I started working on a network, and then I actually developed a server, got the server involved, and everything else. And as I started working on that, I started realizing that I did kind of have an idea about what to do. And then I went from there and started going into the public school system. And once I started in the public school system, I did things like net day. So I was actually up in the ceiling, wiring myself, punching down cables, stuff like that, configuring computers, and working with technicians at the time because it was a very small team. I slowly moved from there to where now I'm actually doing a lot more with infrastructure than I'm doing with instruction, but I still have my hand in the instruction because I do supervise librarians and teachers, and I still are participating in developing curriculum and how to make changes for preparing our students for the present 21st century and the future 22nd century coming up, especially in the information age that we're in right now. So even though I tend to focus a lot more basically on the ones and zeros that are going across the data lines more than anything else, I still am very much involved in the educational and the instructional part of the technology too.
So, like when you said librarians and teachers, so I'm assuming all these teachers are more like technology, CS.
Technology teachers, yes.
So, is that normal for your role in other schools across the US? Like
Yeah,
you guys
yeah,
talk to the,
you'll find that a lot of us as directors of technology, we also supervise librarians or supervise technology teachers, and then I have the non-certified staff, which is the IT staff. So the
Mhm.
technicians too. So you do find that you're going to be more or less split between the two kind of thing. You don't just focusing on one type of teacher, you're focusing on others. Like my previous school district, I supervised I was supervising the computer science teachers. This district I'm in, I'm not supervising them, but their supervisor is actually under me, and I supervise him.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, I mean, some of the school districts that I worked with, like they're in the math department or science department, but yeah, I can see how you can relate to them more.
Hmm.
I mean, because especially because you have teaching background too.
Yeah.
What do you feel the typical challenges that are faced by teachers or schools that teach computer science courses?
The typical challenge that you're going to have is basically finding certified teachers to teach computer science. That's a major challenge.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the thing is that a lot of teachers, it's not a field that many school districts have, and it's one of the rare content that you get an exposure to for in school. And unless you're somebody like me who actually, I exposed my son to computer science when he was in ninth grade. And right now he's a CTO for a software company in Portland, Oregon. You know,
Wow.
because I was a teacher and that type of thing, that's what makes the big difference. A lot of students have never been exposed to it. And it's like when I was teaching at Bailey Eller, one of my students at the time, when I started exposing him to computer science and C++ and everything else, he changed his major prior to going to college because he was actually going to major in math. And when he went to college, he decided to major in computer science instead. So those are just, couple of stories that has happened to me over the years about computer science and getting it, in schools and ensuring that we have the ability to prepare our kids for what is coming in the future, because computer science to me is very much at the forefront of everything that we have for the present century and the century to come. We're living in an information age and everything is going to be based on the technology. So because of that, to me, computer science is really vital to have because everything is slowly changing. It's all technology based, even though I mentioned before, I'm working with switches and stuff like that. I have HVAC systems on my network. I have door access systems. I have telephones. I have, security cameras. All of those things are on my network. So because all of those things are on my network, the process of computer science and whole concept of computer science is not just the coding language. It's a thought process. When I was in college, which is way before you even went to college, Sandy, was we actually took a course called logic. And the concept of logic is pretty much how algorithms work. And that's the reason why I think computer science is so important. A challenge is that there are not many people who have been trained into doing that type of thing. And then the other side of it also is that it changes so quickly. I remember I was doing C++, okay? And then people were doing advanced C++. Next thing I knew it was XML. The next thing I knew it was Perl and all these things. The other part now is that everybody's doing everything in Python, you know? And even some of the stuff that basically you do on switches and that type of thing, you're coding in Python in order to do it. So because of that reason, the language changes, and the whole concept behind how the language changes is what makes a big difference. Like one of the things I would love to bring into my school district is to bring back COBOL. And the reason I would love to bring back COBOL programming language, it's not my favorite programming language. I do still prefer C++. But the reason being is that a lot of banks are based on COBOL programming, banks and insurance. And guess what? They don't have because all of their engineers, there's people are all retiring. So there's no one else coming up the line to take those positions. So, those are just some of the things that are happening where it's becoming difficult for education to try and find the actual niche that we need to find educators in order to provide the skills and the content that our students need for this information age.
Yep, yes. I mean, I can totally see you're very passionate about this. And in addition to that, you're extremely knowledgeable about this.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're talking about. You understand both the technology extremely well and the education system extremely well. Very rare to, it's very rare to find people like you and a woman of color.
Yeah.
So probably like you're one or two of the people
Yeah.
in the world.
No, there are not very many of us in this area. So because of that, it gets a little bit lonely, but if you are an educator like I am, one of the biggest focus for you also is to make sure about girls, males getting involved into this field. So for me, like one of the things I actually encourage all the time is even with the computer science classes, bringing guest speakers who are women who are actually coders. And I actually was talking to someone recently at NJIT, and she's going to be coming in to talk to my computer science students to talk about, what it is in the field and everything else. The one thing I'm a big advocate is girls who code. I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier that you're going to have somebody on your podcast talk about it. Girls who code is like a breath of fresh air, because to me, it's like the more we can get females and young ladies involved in coding and also be involved in computer science or even STEM or engineering, because that's one of the things I find is very rare to find an engineer. A female network engineer is not an easy thing to find. Actually, I have one right now. She's absolutely amazing, and I hope she never leaves. But those are just some of those things that we need to get more girls involved in those fields.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, when I was in my previous life of working at IT, I was an enterprise architect, and for a couple of months, I had to work with infrastructure. Yeah, I was extremely lonely.
Yes.
Yeah, probably they never saw a woman, and yeah,
Yeah.
in that role, and for me also to work with them. Yep. And you have touched on a few amazing things, like how computer science is foundational to every field these studies, every industry and every field of study. And you also touched on, though it is like that, still we are very far from evenly balanced.
Right, exactly. And that's where the issue is that because we are so much basically, like I said, we're in an information age. So the information age is the ones and zeros that appear on your screen as if, and gives you some sort of understanding of exactly, rather than you have to be a computer science person, but there is so much beyond it because a lot of people don't realize there's computer science. I mean, right now I know people who can't fix cars, and the reason being is that they don't understand how the computer works to attach to their car. My car is completely hybrid, so because of that, everything has to be based on the computer that's connected. It's everything. It's your car mechanic. It's the person in your house. I have a smart house. You know, everything I can actually, you know, organize from my phone. All of these things are part of a network. So because of that, people don't realize is that even though, even I mean, young girls or females or actual, you know, our 12th graders graduating and becoming high school, becoming employed or going to college, there is a underlying thing that they need to understand about computer science in order to get into the field. You know, it could be a basic field. It could be something like, okay, like I said, they could be wanting to do, you know, security cameras, burglar alarm systems, all those things. You know what I mean? They are all based on some form of technology. So because of that, understanding how that works is important. And I think computer science is the basis of it. You know, basic using of algorithms and being able to use algorithms is a part of being able to do that type of work. So because of that, I see it really vitally important for kids today to be exposed to computer science.
Yes, totally agree. And you also touched on another very critical thing, like even for a moment, if you forget about all the technology that we have, it teaches logic,
Yeah,
which is fundamental to everything.
yeah. Which is important because it teaches logic and it teaches you how to break down things into steps and how the steps need to work. I mean, one of the things we taught our kindergarten kids, introducing coding to some of the kids in my previous school district, not where I am right now, was we did the peanut butter sandwich,
Hmm.
you know, program. And I'm not sure if you know what that is.
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So that was, I mean, it was funny to hear the kids, you know, and the teacher actually had a jar. It wasn't peanut butter. It was like, I think it was almond butter or some other nut. It was nuts. But anyhow, but it was funny because one of the things was, you know, when the kids, oh, you just take it out of the jar. So the teacher would be like, okay, how do I get it out of the jar? You know what I mean? So the kids had to figure out how to, wait, you got to open the jar. You got to pick up the device, you know, pick up whatever it is,
Hmm.
thing in the jar, scoop it out. They, you know, it's just that they had to develop that thinking of how to
Hmm.
do it. When we
Yes.
got to fifth grade and fourth grade, what we did was we actually had the kids stand, we had 5 kids stand at the front of the classroom, and the rest of the class had to tell them how to get out the door.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. So that leads me to a next question. So, what is your current, like, how do you teach CS in several grades?
Right now, we actually have a computer science and AP computer science in our high school.
Uh-huh.
That right now we're about to change our technology curriculum for the district for kindergarten through eighth grade, or first through eighth grade, I should say. And we'll be focusing more on computer science. We're going to be using the code.org curriculum. September coming, we will be actually implementing that curriculum because I know that the state of New Jersey now has a computer science curriculum that needs to be implemented under career and technical education. So, or career and college readiness. So because of that, that's where we're looking to get to that point. But at the lower levels, we've been teaching a lot more of how to use systems. We're a school district, so we're
Mm-hmm.
teaching kids more about how to use the Google platform and stuff. But we're hoping to move over to more of a computer science based um, curriculum by September.
Yeah, not the like use of the existing applications rather than how to create those applications.
Exactly. That's one of the things we're trying to do.
So, can you talk to me about a problem that your team might have faced, like teaching computer science?
Well, one of the problems is that making sure you have the technology, because sometimes that's one of the problems that you have. Even though you can teach computer science without technology, it doesn't require you to actually have technology.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things is the technology and making sure about that. Another challenge we've had actually has been teachers and training, professional development for our teachers, that type of thing, making sure that teachers are being trained on how to actually do it. When I say do it, I mean to how to actually teach computer science. So that has been a major challenge for some of us. The other part of it also has been trying to find curriculum, because some of the curriculums that are out there is really, really expensive. And because of that, so we had looked at Project Lead the Way, and we actually used Project Lead the Way computer science in high school. But one of the things was we didn't want to have to be paying that money all the time. So because of that, one of the things we did was we look at, that's why we began looking at the code.org. And not only that, code.org curriculum is also supported by the state of New Jersey. So because it's also supported by that, that's the reason why we're trying to focus on that type of thing right now.
Was the best product that you have used or you haven't used yet? What would be a best product to teach computer science?
For me, I think computer science, I don't think it should be a product. Because really, teaching coding is really text-based. You know what I mean? But what I think now for the introductory part, I think Minecraft is absolutely awesome. You know, using Minecraft, using Rubicon, those type of, I think it's absolutely amazing because it seems to get the kids hooked on the whole idea about how computer science is supposed to work and stuff like that. And then moving on to Scratch. These are different types of things that we've used basically in my previous school district, and even in some of the classes right now, they still use it, but it's not really based on computer science, it's based on something else. But one of the things that we do find is that one product that I can say, I don't think it's an actual product. I think it's more of a thought process and a mindset than an actual product. Because of how technology is so ambiguous, it's so big and it has the ability to go so far, trying to focusing on one technology or one type of product and that type of thing, I think would be restraining my teachers and my students, you know, and my department in really looking at what computer science is all about and really looking at what technology is all about. Because to me, it's such a vast area. You know, it's like, I remember speaking to someone about doing something in medicine. And if you really look at it, medicine is not just a medical doctor now. Medicine is like enormously vast. You know what I mean? There's so many different positions, but not only that, there's so many other things as part of it. I mean, people don't realize that the medical records is a major, you know, industry. Just something like that. Then you're also looking at pharmaceutical. So it's a big thing to try and focus on one item. I try not to. What I do is I try to look at technology in the sense of that it is a flowing, you know, it ebbs and it flows and stuff like that kind of thing. And because it's constantly changing and moving and flowing, I basically look at the products need to be in the same format.
Yep, totally agree. So, if you have a magic wand to fix or to make computer science better in K-12 space, computer science education, what would that do?
If I could, I would make it a required course. I would make it a required course from the elementary all the way up to high school. I personally would make it actually a graduation requirement. You know, kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if I could wage a magic wand and it would happen. I would make it a requirement, and the reason why I would make it a requirement, because to me, I think it's the basis of a lot of our technology. But not only that, it prepares our kids for what's going to happen in the future. Where are we going to be from here? You know, it's the biggest thing is that this is not my future; it's their future. So giving them the skills to be able to go beyond what I know right now and be what I am capable of doing is the best preparation I could do. Preparing them for where they want to go and what they see as the future rather than what I see as the future. For example, one of the things, none of us knew that we would actually have a situation where K-12 would have been doing virtual education or virtual learning. And something that I can tell you I pushed for years. You know, we need to do more blended learning. We need to put half of our kids online, half of our kids in school and stuff like that. Well, the pandemic hammered and we had no choice. Everybody had to land up being virtual. The biggest thing is that to me was like if we had started with the blended learning from the very beginning, and a lot of school districts that did that, the concept of moving to completely virtual was not as hard because
Right.
they had a
Yeah.
basis. Correct. Go ahead. They had a basis of what they were trying to do.
Right. I was just gonna say, like, I mean, probably like the computer science teachers, they might have already been doing that even in the class, right? Like all the kids were on the computer and
Yeah. It's like, say, for instance, we had a one-to-one in our high school already, ninth and 12th grade. So when ninth and 12th grade, because they had a one-to-one, the kids took home their Chromebooks and everything else.
yeah.
It was a easier transition for our high school kids to deal with the virtual learning than it is for our lower grade kids because we didn't have the devices in the hands of the kids. It was
Mm-hmm.
being shared in a computer lab or in a Chromebook cart, that type of thing. But once you were thrown into this situation, we had to do this. And so, with that in mind, the whole idea behind starting computer science early, getting kids used to the idea of what it is and where it can lead to. None of us know, a student like one of my kindergarten kids here today could be our next Bill Gates or could be, may, you know, could
Right.
be next Steve Jobs, or whoever. But none of us really know what it's going to be like in the next couple of years. And by that time, I might be retired. I don't see myself retiring soon, but I might be retired. But at the same time, I see it as being important because as a grandparent, I see it is important for my own grandchildren. So because of that, like my little grandson, I've been teaching him about computer science. And I've been doing some stuff in Scratch. So
This is very informative, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
so did I.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Mrs. Paul.
Thank you.
Anything else that you would like to say for our audience, or if someone wants to reach out, how, if you wish,
Yeah.
how how
Well,
they should
if they
reach
want to
out?
reach out to me, you can find me on social media. On Twitter, I am spaul6414. And if you look me up on Facebook, I'm Sandra K. Paul. Also on LinkedIn. One of the last things I'd like to say is that we need to prepare our kids for the future. And in preparing our students for the future, it's not me dictating what needs to happen. It's more of giving them the skills to prepare for what they might face, but also what they would like to do. So, in an information technology age, computer science should be one of the basic things that they should be exposed to, and be able to go further with it if they want to. But just being able to understand it and know what it is important for them to move further in this information age. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
talking to
Mrs.
you
Paul.
too.